Let's look at one more example to reinforce this concept. The following is a 1960s advertisement for Respond hairspray.
Some blind date. Her hair's so sticky, it's like cotton candy.
Why doesn't he like me?
Maybe it's that cheap hairspray.
You use hairspray.
I use Respond. Even if I spray straight on.
Look out!
Respond special protein formula won't get sticky.
And it holds. I'd better get Respond.
Harry, my hair.
Respond's special protein formula is good to your hair.
A similar dynamic is at work here. Initially, this ad seems to instill confidence in women. By getting Respond hairspray, they can feel self-assured when entering into the dating world. The female subject appears truly in love at the end of the ad as she gazes up at her man. But this ad plays off of female insecurities as well, portraying women as fickle and easily manipulated. In the beginning of the ad, she displays her anxieties, that she is not good enough for the male subject, asking, "Why doesn't he like me?" This is a classic example of female subordination, as women must constantly change themselves to better fit a man's liking. Furthermore, the focus is on women's beauty. The subject's man does not like her because of her appearance, of her hair color, of her hair like cotton candy. She needs to improve her physical appearance, and therefore her value is placed on her body, her attractiveness, and her sexuality. These ads exemplify the control that men have had over women. It is important to note that men dominated the advertising industry during most of the 20th century. Thus, these ads are of men talking to women. They are the voice of male authority, which instructs women to better serve them, to handle the laundry, and to look pretty. By creating this image of femininity, they have established and reinforced the social order. Throughout U.S. history, men have prospered over the false sense of female independence. Note that there is a distinction between the vision of these females and the reality. Despite the American vision of equality and freedom, women have always faced serious oppression. Even after getting the right to vote, for instance, women still do not have a representative share of state positions. And even after women were believed to have broken through into the professional world, they still receive disproportionately less pay. And so it is clear that the American idea of womanhood and femininity differs quite drastically from the reality. Advertisements have also helped construct a fabricated representation of the military that can be seen through wartime ads, particularly during World War II. During the war, the U.S. economy suffered from the cost of fighting, and as a result, there was little spent on consumer goods. Advertisers' strategy then became associating their product with the war effort. In doing so, they exploited the American ideals of patriotism and loyalty associated with the war. The great success many of these ads experience speaks to the power of patriotism. Despite the atrocities faced in World War II, civilians were still absorbed with these ideals of honor and American spirit that led them to go make purchases. Few print ads romanticize the war effort as fully as the New Haven Railroad's Kid in the Upper Four depiction. The ad describes a kid traveling on the New Haven Railroad, sent off to war. The narrative describes his last moments in the U.S., reflecting, "Tonight he knows he is leaving behind a lot of little things, and big ones. The taste of hamburgers and pop. His roadster cruising over a 6-lane highway. A dog named Shucks or Spot or Barnacle Bill. The pretty girl who writes so often. The mother who knit the socks he'll wear soon." This is the American dream, as generic and stereotypical as ever. And while this depiction describes what he is fighting for on a personal level, the ad expands to encompass the American vision. The narrator states, "And he will come, this kid in Upper Four, with hope, peace, and freedom for a tired, bleeding world." Here we have the American values spelled out clearly: hope, peace, and freedom. Not surprisingly, the realities of war are absent. There is no mention of fighting or death, of violence or discrimination that came from the war. There is no description of the likelihood of his death either. They are sure that he will come. Also implicit in this description is the notion of saving other nations, and that this Anglo boy will somehow better this tired, bleeding world through his fighting. It is also clear how powerful this sentiment can be. For example, the New Haven Railroad uses the kid in Upper Four to excuse the poor conditions of their train at the time. The ad concludes, "If you have to stand en route, it is so he may have a seat. If there is no berth for you, it is so that he may sleep. For to treat him as our most honored guest is the least we can do to pay a mighty debt of gratitude." Yet this ad is a false and exploitive idea of fighting for American freedom. Going without a seat on the train does not directly allow a soldier's ride. It is a nice way of thinking about not having a seat, and it serves to justify the New Haven Railroad's poor conditions. So the railroad capitalizes on this false sense of patriotism, much like the state does. And this is the same dynamic as the government sending kids off to war by giving them the false impression that they will be heroes, fighting to preserve human rights. What is left out is that more times than not, their human rights, along with their enemies, are stripped during this war. And so this is the pattern of American history seen through advertising. It is a pattern of exploiting the American dream and national identity for personal gain. It is of rampant consumerism, the oppression of women, and the injustices of war. And while America has a lot to be proud of, its story cannot be told without examining both perspectives.